Okay, chapter 5. I think the beginning part is wonderful. Page 45, second paragraph. The hard air was still sulphurous, but they were both used to it. Round the horizon went the haze, opalescent, with frost and smoke. On the top lay the small blue sky, so that it was like being inside an enclosure, always inside. Life always a dream inside an enclosure. It is a kind of metaphor. Inside an enclosure. Right? Across the park where frost lay brood across the park, past the Woodgate, fine ribbon. Clifford had it newly gravel, with sifted gravel from the pit bank, when the rock and refuse the underground had burnt, given off its sulfur, it turned bright pink. Shrimp-colored on dry days, crab-colored on wet. Burgundy, what? It talks about the wood, right? Page 46, second paragraph. In the wood, everything was motionless. The old leaves on the ground, keeping the frost on their underside. A jay called harshly, many little birds fluttered. But there was no game, no peasants. They'd been killed off during the war, and the wood had been left unprotected till now Clifford had got his gamekeeper again. Clifford loved the wood. He loved the old oak trees. He felt they were his own through generations. He wanted to protect them. He wanted this place inviolate, shallow from the world. Page 47, the last sentence. But the wood is older than your family, said Connie gently. And Clifford is angry. Quite, said Clifford. But we've preserved it, except for us, it would go. Except for us, it would go. It would be gone already, like the rest of the forest. One must preserve some of the old England. In the middle, Connie was not keen on change, but she said nothing. She was thinking of the curious impersonality of his desire for a son. So keep up tradition, right? One must keep up tradition again. There was a pause. What tradition? Asked Connie. The tradition of England, of this. Yes, he said slowly. That's why having a son helps. One is only a link in a chain. So she's not interested on change. He looked her steadily with his full, pale blue eyes. It would almost be a good thing if he had a child by another man, he said. If we brought it up at Rugby, it would belong to us and to the place. I don't believe very intensely in fatherhood. If we had a child to rear, it would be our son, and it would carry on. Don't you think it's worth considering? What do you think? Old man, right? Old man thinks this way, right? Do you agree? On page 49, first paragraph, the second sentence, nothing on. It seems to me that isn't these little acts and little connections we make in our lives that matter so very much? They pass away, and where are they? Where are the snows of yesteryear? It's what endures through one's life that matters. Our own life matters to me in its long continuance and development. But what do the occasional connections matter? Do you agree? Occasional connections. And the occasional sexual connections especially, if people don't exaggerate them ridiculously, they pass like the mating of birds. Do you agree? They pass like the mating of birds. I think this is true, or this is true and false, right? They pass like the mating of birds. In terms of in the largest sense, right? The mating of birds, the mating of humans are the same. Don't you agree? But if you say this, you'll be what? Criticized, right? I don't know what's. So, occasional encounters, occasional connections are compared with the excursion, right? After an excursion, you come back home, right? So, page 51, a chance encounter with the gamekeeper, right? In the middle. She was watching a brown spaniel that had run out of sight pass, was looking toward them with lifted nose, making a soft, fluffy bark. A man with a gun strolled softly, out after dark, facing their way as if about to attack them, then stopped instead, saluted, and was turning downhill. It was only the new gamekeeper, but he had frightened Connie. He seemed to emerge with such a swift manners that was how she had seen him, like a sudden rush of a threat out of nowhere. He was a man in dark green velveteens and gaiters, the old style, with a red face and a red mustache, distant eyes. So, red face, red mustache, and distant eyes. He was going quickly downhill. Mellows called Clifford. So the gamekeeper, right? And page 55. I like the way Lawrence characterizes Clifford. Clifford. He on page 55, second from bottom. Clifford looked at Connie with his pale, slightly prominent blue eyes, in which certain vagueness was coming. He seemed alert in the foreground, but the background was like the Midland atmosphere, haze, smoky mist. What do you think of this? Wonderful. And the haze seemed to be creeping forward. Good. So when he stared at Connie in his peculiar way, giving her his peculiar, precise information, she felt all the background of his mind filling up with mist, with nothingness. And it frightened her. It made him seem impersonal, almost to idiocy. And dimly, she realized one of the great laws of the human soul, that when the emotional soul receives a wounding shock, which does not kill the body, the soul seems to recover as the body recovers. But this is only appearance. It is really only the mechanism of the reassumed habit. Wonderful, right? Wonderful. Slowly, the wound to the soul begins to make itself felt. As in the case of Clifford, like a bruise, which only slowly deepens its terrible ache till it feels all the psyche. And when we think we have recovered and forgotten, it is then that the terrible after effects have to be encountered at its worst. So the terrible thing is happening between Clifford and Connie, right? So I'll skip one paragraph, the third paragraph. As it spread in him, Connie felt it spread in her. an inward dread, an emptiness, an indifference to everything gradually spread in her soul. This is a fantastic paragraph, right? When Clifford was aroused, he could still talk brilliantly and, as it were, command the future, as when in the wood he talked about her having a child and giving an heir to rugby. But the day after, all the brilliant words seemed like dead leaves, crumpling up, turning to powder, meaning really nothing, blown away on any gust of wind. They were not the leafy ooze of an effective life, young with energy and belonging to the trees. They were the host of fallen leaves of life that is ineffectual. Fantastic, right? And on page 57, second paragraph, poor Connie. As the years drew on, it was the fear of nothingness in her life that affected her. Clifford's mental life and hers gradually began to feel like nothingness. And the next paragraph, last sentence, at the same time, a display. Michaelis had seized upon Clifford as the central figure for prey. Okay, I'll skip. Okay, 58. In the middle, Michaelis came in summer in pale-colored suit and white suede gloves with mauve orchids for Connie. Very lovely. And Act 1 was a great success. Even Connie was thrilled. Okay, page 59, from the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Connie looked at him amazed, and yet she felt nothing. These men, they were all alike. They left everything out. They just went off with the top of their heads as if they were squibs. Expect you to be carried heavenwards along with their own thin sticks. What kind of stick it is, right? Why not? But why not? He cried. He'll hardly know you've gone after 6 months. He does know. So Michaelis suggests that they run away, right? And he doesn't know that anybody exists except himself. Why? The man has no use for you at all. As far as I can see, he's entirely wrapped up in himself. All right. Connie is still thinking that Clifford needs her, right? But something subtle changes taking place in her, right? In the next chapter, I think. Right? Chapter 6 is important. Page 63, second from bottom. A woman wants you to like her and talk to her and at the same time love her and desire her. And it seems to me the two things are mutually exclusive. But they shouldn't be, okay? Page 65, from bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. Connie knew he was right, really, yet it left her feeling so forlorn and stray, like a chip on a dreary pond, she felt. What was the point of her or anything? It was youth which rebelled. These men seemed so old and cold. Everything seemed old and cold. And Michaelis let one down so. He was no good. The man didn't want one. They just didn't really want a woman. Even Michaelis didn't. What is it? It's after the conversation between I think Connie suggests they have an affair, have a relationship, right? The soldier, the Duke, and he does not agree. Why? Didn't he like her? What? What's the reason? One of the reasons is, of course, that he's old, right? But he's a brigadier general, right? Something happened, right? He loses his job. Anyway, but she's desperate, right? And page 46, Lawrence addresses her Constance and Coney. And in two places, Lawrence addresses, she calls her Constance instead of Coney. Page 66, from bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? 6 paragraph. Constance strolled near her with blazing eyes. The man turned and looked at her slowly, but he was pale. What's the matter? Was she crying? Demanded Constance, preemptly, but a little breathless. In here, Connie missed the gamekeeper for the first time, second time? For the second time, right? With the daughter. And she does not know him, right now. So he uses the name Constance into Connie, right? Connie. And also, the gamekeeper speaks in the vernacular, right? In Bulgar language, right? So, and what's the name of the girl? Same name, Connie, right? Connie Mellors. And you find the names interesting, right? Tommy Dukes. Page 73. But a child, a baby, that was still one of the sensations. She would venture very gingerly on that experiment. There was the man to consider, and it was curious. There wasn't a man in the world whose children you wanted. Mike's children, repulsive thought. As lief have a child to a rabbit. As lief as is an idiom, right? He was very nice, but somehow you couldn't associate him with a baby, another generation. He ended in himself, and out of all the rest of Clifford's pretty wide acquaintance, there was another man who did not rouse contempt when she thought of having a child by him. There were several who would have been quite possible as lovers, even Mike. But as people to have children with, humiliation, abomination. So that was that. So actually, she wants to have a baby, but she is never satisfied with anyone. Page 76. Connie backed away round the corner. Page 76 of the house and hurried away to the wood. In spite of herself, she had a shock. After all, merely a man washing himself, commonplace enough, heaven knows. So this is a chance encounter. Actually, she is on an errand for Clifford. She is carrying a message for the gamekeeper, and he knocked on the door, no answers, and then he heard something behind the house, and she saw him washing himself, right? And this is the description. Yet, in some curious way, it was a visionary experience. It had hit her in the middle of the body. She saw the clumsy breeches slipping down over the pure, delicate white loin, the bones showing a little, and the sense of aloneness of a creature purely alone, of wonder, perfect, white, solitary nudity, creature that lives alone, inwardly alone, and beyond that, a certain beauty of a pure creature, not the stuff of beauty, not even the body of beauty, but the lambency, the warm, white flame of a single life, living itself in contours that one might touch body. This is very beautiful. It's the Lawrence description, right? And also, the next paragraph begins with a very impressive sentence. Connie had received the shock of vision in her womb. When she encountered Michaelis, she felt the same way, right? Right. And same page from bottom, 1, 2, 3. So she sauntered slowly back, listening. As she came near, the cottage looked just the same. A dog barked. It's curious. The first time she knocked the door, the dog didn't bark. Right? And the dog barked. It's strange, right? Anyway, this is novel, right? Probably the dog had a walk, right? I don't know. A dog barked, and she knocked at the door, the heart beating in spite of herself. She heard the man coming lightly downstairs. He opened the door quickly and startled her. He looked uneasy himself, but instantly a laugh came on his face. "Lady Chartley," he said, "will you come in?" And also after the meeting, Connie came home and talked with her husband, and she makes a comment. And the comment is, "The gamekeeper, my lord, is a curious kind of person," she said to Clifford. "He might almost be a gentleman." And Clifford does not agree, right? Right? And also, Clifford seems to feel something fishy, right? And the last two paragraphs. He looked at her curiously, uneasily, half suspiciously. While reading Lawrence's novel, the use of words is exquisite, I think, very wonderful, right? And the use of adverbs. He uses 3 adverbs, right? Consecutively, and I like it. It's impressive, right? Curiously, uneasily, half suspiciously. And she felt he wasn't telling her the real truth. He wasn't telling himself the real truth. That was it. He disliked any suggestion of a really exceptional human being. People must be more or less at this level or below it. So this shows Clifford's character, right? And chapter 7 is a kind of transition, and in this chapter, finally, Connie is released from the grip of Clifford, right? Despite the fact that he hates it, right? So, and Mrs. Bolton shows up, right? And it's a kind of boring chapter, but this is vital as a transition. When Connie went up to her bedroom, she did what she had not done for a long time. Took off all her clothes, looked at herself naked in the huge mirror. She did not know what she was looking for or looking at very definitely, yet she moved the lamp till it shone full on her. So maybe there is a middle-age crisis for a couple, right? And either the husband or wife feel kind of alienated from partner, then they drift away and have an affair, things like that. So this is what happens, right? But Lawrence gives enough reason why she is drifting away from him, right? So, there is the description of her changing. She was a very light young girl, but now she turned a woman, old, right? So from page on pages 80 and 81, right? On page 81, second paragraph, still she thought the most beautiful part of her was the long sloping fall of the and the thinner and going and ripe, astringent. But the front body made her miserable. It was the beginning with all the four. She thought of now. Okay, page 84. There's a mention of scientific facts. Page 81. Olive was reading a book about the future when babies would be bred in bottles, women would be immunized. What will happen to women in the future, right? You don't have to worry because babies could be bred in bottles, right? And I wonder if this idea must have given Huxley the idea of the book Brave New World. Don't you think so? Because Huxley met him, Lawrence, at Lawrence's place in the United States. He bought a ranch. He lived there, and Huxley visited him. And also Huxley met him in Italy. So maybe there must be some connection in it. I don't know. And also the morphine, right? Page 85, from top, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I suppose Lady Benry contemplatively, if the love business went, something else will take its place. Morphia, perhaps. Morphine and utopia, morphia, right? A little morphine in all the air, it would be wonderfully refreshing for everybody. The government releasing ether into the air on Saturdays for a cheerful weekend, said Jack. Sounds all right, but where should we be by Wednesday? So you have nothing to do, right? Robots will take care of everything, right? Babies will be bred in bottles, and you have only leisure to enjoy. What do you do? The solution is morphia, right? Right? So it's a quite interesting idea here, right? And also, page 85. Coney says this. Something echoed inside Coney. Page 86 from bottom, second paragraph. Something echoed inside Coney. Give me the democracy of touch, the resurrection of the body. The democracy of touch. So this paragraph, this chapter is preparatory paragraph for what followed, the chapters. So the assignment is read chapters 8 through 13, and after that, two more meetings, and for each meeting, you read 3 chapters after this. So during the weekend, read the whole chapters or finish it, right? So the assignment is summarize chapters 8 to 13 in one paragraph, and one chapter focusing on the best part, 1-page essay. For example, why is the most important and beautiful in terms of style? Okay, what is the most important and beautiful in terms of style or theme or points of view, or in terms of novel theme as a comment on the age? 19th century industrialized England or the England before it? What is most important part, right? Okay, that's the assignment. Okay, see you on Wednesday.